All right, looks like we are live. Welcome, everybody, to Standing for Truth. My name is Donnie B., and I am your host and moderator for tonight's debate on macroevolution. This is the rematch between Dr. Dino and David Emery. This also concludes our 5-day Defending Genesis conference. This would be considered our 10th session this week, and no better way to end a conference than with a debate, and not just any debate. Again, the rematch between these gentlemen. Before we get right into the fun, let's kind of break the ice, get to know the debaters a little bit. Although they don't really need any introduction, but we get new subscribers and supporters every day. So just in case, why don't we start with David? David, how you been? What's going on? A little bit about yourself.
I've been good.
Good.
I'm David Emery, as you can see, coming to you from the land of enchantment. I was raised in a fundamentalist Pentecostal Christian home. I went to public schools through high school. I went to university after that, and I have a master's degree in mathematics. I worked for a university research center for 20 years, worked for NASA 16 years, and I'm really looking forward to trying to correct some of the misunderstandings about science.
All right, David, thank you for the introduction. And let's hand it over to Kent. Kent Hovind, how are you today? And a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. I'm doing very well. I've been a Baptist preacher 48 years, and I live in Lenox, Alabama, straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. We're building Dinosaur Adventure Land, a Christian camp, science center, museum, theme park. And I think the only misunderstandings about science are on the evolution side. There's no scientific evidence for evolution. None. It's a religion people believe in. I think all the scientific evidence points toward the Bible being absolutely true. God made everything in 6 days. So we defend that position here at Dinosaur Adventureland. Come on down. You can call us 855-BIG-DINO or come visit us. It's all free. How long? We got a lot of folks here now. So come on visit. David, you're welcome anytime. We'll give you the tour.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Dr. Dino, for that introduction. Glad to have you both here again for the audience sake. We are debating the question, is there reasonable evidence for macroevolution? Format-wise, we are going to allow David Emery to start us off. We will do roughly 10 to 12 minutes. When we get to the 10-minute mark, David, what I'll do is give you a 2-minute warning. Then we'll do an 8-minute uninterrupted rebuttal. And then we will just have a more free-flowing discussion where Kent and David can discuss the topics one at a time, of course. And then we'll have some audience questions. So this is where we're going to get you guys in the audience involved for some audience Q&A. Just please make sure to tag me with your questions at Standing for Truth, and that way I won't miss them. All right, David, we're going to get right into it. Your screen is already shared, so let me get that up there for you. And the floor is yours. 12 minutes. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Okay, well, welcome to the debate tonight. The first thing I want to remind everybody is some scripture that's my favorite. It says, "My thoughts are not your thoughts. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." Just remember that when you think you have, when you're the only one that knows what God's thinking. Here's some questions that Kent said he would like any evolutionist to answer. I assume he's gotten answers before, but I'll give it a shot. His first is, do you agree with the standard definition for science, the knowledge that man has accumulated by observation, experimentation, and testing? I do not agree that this is any kind of standard definition for science. Sorry, Kent, but you must have gotten this out of a dictionary. Science is not a noun. It's very much a verb. When scientists go out into the field and do experiments, those are scientific experiments. They're not some kind of knowledge that you looked up in a book. So many define science as an intellectual pursuit that involves the observation of natural occurrences and events to discover hidden facts, to formulate laws, theories, hypotheses, and principles based on those facts. That's more close to what I would think science is. Of course, in my opinion, anything that requires steps is a scientific experiment. So I also looked up scientific knowledge, and I think that's what Kant is talking about. This is knowledge obtained through the use of the scientific method. And so, you know, if you want to talk about scientific knowledge, that's totally separate from the definition of science. How do you define the word evolution? This is question number 2, but I think this involves the debate tonight. So I'll leave that. Number 3, how do you define the word species? The concept of species, it's a rudimentary unit of classification in biology and biodiversity. So, as we've seen a million times, species is like the lowest classification unit. So species and genus and whatever. I never had to memorize that. So species are often defined in a large section of organisms where 2 individuals of the opposite sex produce fertile offspring. Moreover, types of species are identified and differentiated via their karyotype, morphology, ecological niche, and their DNA sequences. You know, nowadays in the 21st century, we use DNA a lot. Number 4, what is the best evidence you know for any plant or animal turning into a different kind? Personally, I think this is a loaded question. That word kind at the end is the good old creationist word kind, which doesn't have a definition. Everybody kind of has an idea of what they think it is, but there is no standard definition there. Okay, so when we go back to evolution, Kant always tells us the word evolution has many meanings, only one of which is scientific, which is not true. Number 1 is cosmic evolution, origin of time, space, and matter. This has changed dramatically in the last 5 years. So if you're still thinking that nothing happens there, then you're mistaken. I gave you 4 or 5 references last time. Chemical evolution, the origin of higher elements from hydrogen. Scientists, astrophysicists all know that the higher elements are created in stars that are much bigger than our star. In nova and supernova, those metals are created. So if you had bothered to check lately, you would find that. And in fact, I think it was just a week ago, I saw an article where they had found strontium out in space. So they had chemical evidence of strontium, and so there are higher metals out there. Stellar and planetary evolution, origin of stars and planets. No one has ever seen a star form, except people have seen a star form. And again, if you had bothered to look in the last 5 to 10 years, you would see that they have watched a star form, 2 stars, and I gave you 4 or 5 references for that. And then there's organic evolution, which I guess is abiogenesis. And then, of course, there's the what we're going to talk about tonight is macroevolution, attention creationists, all you guys out there. Macro and microevolution are one and the same. I know Kent doesn't much like microevolution, but it's impossible to believe in one and not the other. It's like believing in inches but not feet. So that's something to think about. His last question was, what is the best evidence you know of for any plant or animal turning into a different kind? I have several examples here. The first one is the picture that's over on the right of your screen. About 30 years ago, they discovered a crawdad crawfish that somehow they had gotten 3 copies of the genome instead of 2. And so they no longer needed the male to reproduce. So the female does all the reproducing on her own. Males are extinct. This is a brand new species, again, because it doesn't need the male to reproduce. It's a new species. The second one, according to history books, the island of Madeira was colonized by the Portuguese, and it's about 600 years ago. And of course, as you know, we all know that rats and mice are all over those ships and get off when they can. And so there were a bunch of mice that were left there. They were typical
2 minutes.
Typical mice. They had 40 chromosomes, and just recently they went back and checked them, and now they're a totally new species that has 22 to 30 chromosomes. Then the next 2 references I gave you, in 2021, there's at least 15 brand new species. In 2022, there's so far 22 brand new species. Then this is the last thing. Kent often talks about the biology experiments where they have single-celled life that they're trying to get to evolve into multi-cell. And he always says that they've never been able to do that. Here are 5 experiments, totally separate, totally individual experiments. You can look up the references and see what they are, where they have taken single cell life, put it in an environment that is conducive to it, and left it alone, and it has developed multicellular life. So again, these things are these things happen. So there you go, Donnie, back to you.
Okay, David, thank you so much. That was exactly 12 minutes. So good job on the timing. And now we are going to hand it over to Dr. Hovind. Kent, whenever you're ready, you've got 12 minutes and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Let's see. So many things to cover here. You're saying micro and macro are the same. You are absolutely confused, okay? They are not the same. Microevolution is changes within the same kind. Macroevolution is changes into a different kind. And the word kind is used all over in the dictionary and on the internet, and no problem. There are many different kinds. I'll talk about that in a second. So the topic of the debate tonight, is there evidence for macroevolution? God said 20 times in the first 7 chapters, the animals would bring forth after their kind, after their kind, after their sort. Okay? There are 400 breeds of cattle. They might have had a common ancestor called a cow, a cattle, okay? I would agree that cows can be trained to jump. They now have a video of a cow jumping over a 7-foot fence. I think that's the record that I've ever seen a cow jump, okay? So does that mean if I took a cow to the gym and made it work out every day and gave it vitamins, it could someday jump over the moon? No, I think we would both agree, David, that there is a limit to how high cows can jump. Have they reached the limit with 7 feet? I don't know. Maybe you want to break it next year with 7 foot and a quarter inch or something. But there are lots of limits to the cow. There are limits on size. You think they're trying to get bigger and bigger cows. Do you think they'll ever get a cow as big as a whale? There are animals as big as a whale, like a whale, okay? So that's not a problem. Do you think they'll ever get a cow as small as a flea? There are animals as small as a flea, like a flea. I think we would all agree there are 400 breeds of cows, and they are limited. They're still a cow. They're still recognizable as a cow. They're the same kind of animal. There's limits how high they can jump. This is what you evolutionists do not understand. Sure, there's variations within the kind, but they're still the same kind. A 4-year-old will tell you every one of those is a cow. There are 350 recognized breeds of dog. They might have had a common ancestor called a dog. And there's limits on size. They've got big dogs and little dogs down to the toy Chihuahua. Do you think they'll ever get a dog smaller than a hamster? No, there's a limit. This is what you guys refuse to either understand or admit, if you do understand. Yes, variations happen, but they're limited. Exactly what God said, they're the same kind. I think that word is fine. Species has about 20 different definitions in the dictionary. I forgot to put that together, but I'll add it to my next PowerPoint, okay? So there's never been a good, hard, rock-solid definition of species either. But it's intuitive. Dogs, Chihuahuas, and Great Danes are the same kind. If you don't know if it's the same kind, ask the male of the species. Turn them loose. They'll seek out the female of their kind, okay? Our male dogs around here show no interest whatsoever in the pine trees. They're looking for the females, okay? So if you can't figure out what kind it is, ask the males. They'll figure it out, okay? There are 1,000 types of bananas. They might have had a common ancestor called a banana. They have little bananas and big bananas, but they're still the same kind. Eagles, I think there are 60 varieties of eagles, 600 varieties of oaks. Our oak trees show no interest in mating with the eagles at all, none. They show no interest in mating with the pine trees. They're the same kind. There are 8 species of bears. They might have had the same common ancestor called a bear. This is where the evolutionists will show the variations within the kind and then claim that this goes forever. David, you showed some of the variations in different ones. Do you believe, Professor Dave said he admitted he believes he's related to a strawberry. Do you believe you are related to, let's see, a banana? I'll pick that one. It's in, oh, there it is right there, banana, okay. Do you believe of the 1,000 types of banana, there's a family tree showing bananas and humans related? David, do you believe you're related to a banana? Just answer yes or no later on, okay? I think we would all agree there are variations within the same kind. Most evolutionists tell you macroevolution is just micro with longer periods of time. This is dreaming. The central question of the Chicago conference, and this is 40 years ago, was whether the mechanisms underlying micro can be extrapolated to explain the phenomena of macro. The answer can be given as a clear no. They're not the same thing, and it's like saying you do believe in inches, but you don't believe in feet. I believe in inches, so if you don't believe in inches, you don't believe in pounds, is what you're talking about, trying to mix them together. Yes. Evolution is defined as a change in species over time. I think that happens, but that's not really what they mean by that word evolution. They want you to think all 6 of my meanings are connected. Macroevolution refers to large-scale evolution. For some, this means the origin of species. This is where the wording gets confused. For others, it means the large-scale changes seen in the fossil record. To everybody's, pay attention, there is no fossil record. There are fossils, billions of them, but they're not a record. They don't talk. They don't have a date stamped on them. You're putting your interpretation on them and talking for them. This is a petrified clam in the closed position. It doesn't talk, and there's no date on it. There is no fossil record. You guys need to knock it off. Quit saying that. There's no such thing as a geologic column either. Major changes in structure and ways of life over tens of millions of years. Why don't we see it happening? Nobody's ever seen a clam produce a non-clam or a cow produce a non-cow. It just isn't observable science. It's imagination. If you give it billions of years, well, then you just took it outside the realm of science. Nobody's ever seen any animal produce a different kind of offspring. Large evolutionary pattern, events that result in the origin of new higher taxon. Okay. All macroevolutionary processes take place in populations and the genotypes of individuals are thus simultaneously microevolutionary processes. You guys want to combine these so bad, but there are 6 different meanings to the word evolution. There are, and they're all different, David. You can talk all you want, but they're not the same. Watching the 7,371 varieties of frogs coming from common ancestors called a frog is not proof the frogs are related to the oak trees. But you guys make these family trees and say they're all related. 4 processes of evolution. You put them in here they've got the several different dinosaurs and a bird in the same family tree, connected to a common ancestor. This is stupid. You're welcome to believe this. I don't care what people believe, but they shouldn't pay to teach that as science. Nobody's ever seen a bird produce a non-bird. Nobody's ever seen a reptile produce a non-reptile. This is pure propaganda. Microevolution happens on a small scale. I agree. Macroevolution happens on a scale that transcends both of these levels. It's never been seen. Never been seen. Microevolution, variation within a species. Okay? Between species variation. Nobody's ever seen that. It doesn't happen. And I would object to the word species there, but that's what they use. Here we see microevolution. We got light-colored lizards and dark-colored lizards. I agree, that happens. I don't know how many colors of lizards there are, and I don't care, but they're still a lizard. But then they say, oh, see, this proves the lizard turned to a bird. And they labeled that macroevolution. That is stupid. It's not true. You can believe that. You can draw the pictures all you want, draw lines on paper connecting them. Microevolution is a variation within the same kind. That has been observed. Every farmer on the planet tries to take advantage of that. If they live in a hot climate, they try to raise cows that can handle the heat. And so they look for the cows that can handle heat, and they breed those. If you're looking for more milk, you get the ones that give more milk and let those breed and build your herd out of milk cows. There's beef cows and milk cows. There's cows that can handle the heat, cows that can handle the cold. There are dogs that can handle the cold, like the wolf, and they got thicker fur and they live up north. It's great, no problem. There's dogs that can't handle the cold, and they don't live up there. If you turned all the dogs in the world loose in Alaska, within 5 years, go back and visit, basically what we've got there now is the only ones that would survive. Nature would select those to survive. It doesn't create anything. It didn't give the dog a heater or a wood-burning stove. It gave it thick fur because it already had thick fur. It already had fur. It didn't add anything to it. It selected. Natural selection works, but it only selects. Microevolution, change within a species or small group of organisms. Then they claim there are transitional fossils. Just lining things up on paper, putting them, is not evidence for evolution. No fossil would count, first of all, as evidence for being transitional. You couldn't prove it had any children. You certainly couldn't prove it had children that lived. When you find a bone in the dirt, you find a fossil, all you could really prove is it lived and died. You could not prove it had any children. You certainly could not prove it had children that were different than itself. We've never seen an animal today produce anything other than its kind. There's no such thing as a fossil record, and you couldn't prove it had kids other than its same kind. No animal today can produce kids other than the same kind. Why should we believe a fossil in the dirt could do that? It's not science. It's imagination. And I'm sick of paying for it to be taught. You guys ought to go start a private school and teach evolution to anybody dumb enough to pay and come learn it, okay? What is so special about a transitional fossil? It helps scientists bridge the gaps of the tree of life. Oh, really? According to modern evolutionary theory, all populations of organisms are in transition. Well, show me this. Show it to me. It doesn't happen. You guys are making this up. Let's see, home, right here. Okay. You put these family trees in the textbooks and tell the kids the human and the bird and the dinosaur and the ladybug and the pine tree and the worm have a common ancestor. David, do you believe you're related to a banana? That would be on the tree of life here with all the land plants. And they show them going to a common ancestor. So David wants to be Professor Dave wants to be a strawberry. These charts that they put, these family trees in the books, are pure propaganda. This isn't science. Drawing lines on paper, connecting them, does not mean a thing. I bet I could put a picture of a Corvette and a picture of me on a paper and draw a line between them. That would prove I'm related to a Corvette, wouldn't it? After all, I got a line between them. This is how dumb it is. I don't know how you guys can't possibly see it. The dog, the wolf, and the banana are not related. This guy says, but if we look at our tree of life, they're separated by 2.9 billion cousins. So in other words, Wade does believe the dog and the wolf and the banana are related. This is Wade. Dave, I'll put your name in here now if you say that's true, okay? Dinosaurs. This wealth of new fossils settled the century-old controversy on the origin of birds. This is so stupid. To draw lines on paper connecting them is not science. They put these trees in there. Let me get another one here. All the many forms of life on Earth are connected to a common ancestor. This is propaganda. This is not science. This is, I think, lying to the kids and ought to be criminal offense. Showing a protozoa turning to a biology teacher. This isn't science. I'm sorry. Microevolution is variations that happens, and that's where it stops. And it matches the Bible. Go ahead, Dave.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Dino, for that 12-minute opening statement. So that concludes the opening arguments. David, let's give you an 8-minute uninterrupted rebuttal. We'll do the same for Kent, and then we're going to jump into a discussion. So, David, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours. 8 minutes. If you need to share screen, I can do so.
Yeah, I do. I do need my slides. I'm amazed at how Dr. Hovind always complains about using one idea at a time, and he must have mentioned at least, I wrote down at least 7 or 8, and he seemed to talk about microevolution more than anything else. The title of this debate is on macroevolution, not micro. Okay, so let's actually look at some of this. Dr. Todd C. Wood, you guys probably know him pretty well because he used to be with Answers in Genesis. He says, I describe my own interaction with horses in an article for Answers in Genesis. And there's the article. In a nutshell, using baraminology techniques, I found to my surprise that all fossil equids, that's in that picture at the bottom right, all those, all fossil equids appear to belong to the same barament and are thus descended from an ancestral pair of horses on the ark. To be blunter, I could be in answers. The evolutionists got that one right, and we creationists appear to have gotten it wrong. First, horse evolution is not microevolution. Although it's a vague term, microevolution generally refers to evolutionary changes within a species. Horse evolution produced new species, genera, and even subfamilies. I'll probably get a lot of flack for saying this, but horse evolution counts as a kind of macroevolution. This is coming from a very well-respected creationist. Oh. Okay. So yes, cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs, monkeys produce monkeys. We all know that. And by the way, Kent, I am not related to banana. I refuse to fall into that trick question that you seem to want to trick everybody with. So cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs, monkeys produce monkeys. Kind is not the same definition as you read in the dictionary. When you're talking about this biblical kind that was mentioned 20 times in the first chapter of Genesis, you are not talking about kind as is defined in Webster Dictionary. I'll bet you money. AIG says there were 20,000 kinds or animals on the ark. CIT says 16,000. Creation Ministries says it's at the family level. Kent Hovind in several previous videos said kind is individuals that can interbreed. Then he said later it was family. And in one video, he emphatically said it was not species. So we get all these different kinds of answers to what kind is and who's on the ark and who's not on the ark. And that's the big question. That's why kind needs to be defined. Species is defined. And the reason they have trouble is because there are some species like fish that are at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. They have no way of checking those to see which one's male and female and which ones produce with which ones. So there are some definitions that have to be changed for that purpose. But for the purpose of any of these that Kent has talked about, you can guarantee that it's species. That is one definition. So let's look at what I think kind is here for a minute. Oh, why do I do that? Here we have the cow family. I believe, Kent, you've always said cows produce cows. We have two Guernsey cattle that were on the ark maybe. And what I want to know is how they produced a bison in, less than 2,000 years. And that's not macroevolution. I have a little short video here.
Antelopes actually fall under this kind as well. So this actually looks a lot like a bongo. That's the last day. It's a different species.
So, um, so here you have cattle kind, and I didn't include antelope because I thought it'd be too controversial. But if you even include antelope in that, how did two antelope on the ark produce all these family members? That's what I'd like to know. With, gosh darn it, that's what I'd like to know. What about dogs? You always
1
say
minute.
there's thousands of dog species, and so here is the family of Canid, and so we wonder how two dogs produced the raccoon dog, which is a species. Monkeys, the same thing. Here are two gibbons from old world monkeys. And how did they produce a squirrel monkey from New World, which also means that those two gibbons or somebody had to get from Mount Ararat to South America, and no, they didn't surf.
Okay.
I'm
There's
trying to
eight.
go quick, but so this is how Kent thinks evolution works. Back to you, Donnie.
All right. Thank you. There's 8 minutes from David Emery. Now we are going to give Kent 8 minutes, and then we are just going to make sure we are discussing each point, each topic one at a time in a discussion portion. So Kent, go ahead, brother, whenever you're ready. 8 minutes.
Thank you, sir. The Bible clearly says they bring forth after their kind 20 times in the first 7 chapters. I think a horse and a zebra might be the same kind of animal. There are little bitty horses today and great big horses today, but there are limits. This is what you guys don't get. You have charts, the family tree, showing the horse is related to a flea and a banana. And that's what you believe, David. And you do believe you're related to a banana. It's not a trap. It's the truth. That's what you believe. Be honest. It ought to be. How do you eat your cousins like that? I don't understand. Okay, let's see. Stripeless zebra. Their horses and zebras are probably had a common ancestor. They cross them and get zebroids and all kinds of things. They try to get faster horses, but there's a limit. I don't think they're ever going to get a horse to fly around the track by putting wings on it. It's limited. So let me go to slide number 2197. 2197. Okay, horse evolution. I'm sorry that David Wood, or what's his name? I don't know the guy, Todd Wood, up at AIG, believes that the Eohippus and the Equus are related. He's wrong, okay? The Hyracotherum is not a horse at all, okay? He's wrong, and they shouldn't have cages on their ark. They're rooms on the ark. Get a King James Bible, you'll figure that out. But this one is not related to this one. They put him, this was a Hyrax. He's still alive in Turkey today. It's no relation to a horse. There's a little Hyrax, still alive in Turkey. That's the skeleton they put in there. That's not related to a horse. How many pairs did he have on the ark? I don't know. No, I don't know how many animals were on that ark. But to come from 16,000 or 20,000 animals to what we have today is minor compared to what you believe. You believe everything came from an amoeba, a whale, a hamster. The chart you showed with dogs, you can flash it up later. If you look at the bottom of all your dogs, it had a walrus on there. Do you think a walrus, I didn't get to write down the other ones in time. Do you think a walrus and a dog have the same family tree? The Eohippus has 18 pairs of ribs. Next one has 15. Next one has 19. Next one has 18. These animals are not related at all. Somebody can put them in a chart, draw a line between them if they want, but that's not science. So that one has toes, the other has one single toe, some have 4 toes. There's a variety of horses today. This is 70 years ago. They knew this horse evolution was baloney. As G.G. Simpson, a major evolutionist, said, many examples commonly cited, like the evolution of the horse family, have been unintentionally falsified. Let me translate that for you. They lied, okay? The early classical evolution tree of the horse was all wrong. 70 years ago, they knew this, okay? The uniform continuous transformation of Hyracotherum to Equus had never happened in nature at Harvard University. Other examples, including the much repeated gradual evolution of the horse, have not held up under close examination. It was made up by Othniel Marsh, this whole horse idea made up in 1874. He collected fossils from all over, drew lines between them, and said, aha, poof, magic, you're related now. Modern horses are found in layers with and lower than the so-called ancient horses. Well, I don't think those layers mean anything either, but you guys do. So how could you have a modern horse already there before the ancestor of the horses? This isn't true. Ancient horse, a Hyracotherium is not a horse, it's a hyrax, still alive in Turkey and East Africa. The ribs are different, the toes are different, the teeth are different. There's no relation. I'm sorry that Todd Wood believes that there is, but he's wrong. I'll debate him on that, okay? South America, the fossils go from one-toed to three-toed, reverse order. They're never found in the order presented. Three-toed and one-toed horses are found, fossils are found side by side. Tulsa Zoo removed their evolution exhibit because so many people complained about it. This isn't true, but it's still on display at Yale University. They show, oh yes, boys and girls, look, this is baloney. Excellent book dealing with the horse evolution has been produced years ago. The evolution, or the icons of evolution. Arranging something in order does not prove any kind of relationship. This is line number 52 on my video number 4. Lies in the textbooks in our seminar series you can get for $50. So I forgot to start my clock. I'm sorry, Donnie. You'll have to get me some warning here. Okay, let's see. So you said the horse evolution is true. Let me see if you believe this one more time, David. They have family trees here. This one has the humans and the birds and the reptiles and the ladybugs and the pine trees and the worms going to a common ancestor. Does this represent science? David, would you consider yourself in that family tree right there? Is that science? It's in the textbooks. If you don't think that's true, if you don't think you're related to a banana, well, then help me get this out of the books, because kids should not be taught this stuff. This one has the humans and all the monkeys related. Do you believe that? Mary Leakey, what a good name for that one. Let's see. All those trees of life with our branches of ancestors are nonsense. I agree, Mary. Humans and lemurs and monkeys related? You're welcome to believe this. That isn't science. Family portrait. Yep, they got the humans and going back to the monkeys and the lemurs. This is absolute propaganda. This isn't science. Here we have the humans and the worms and the starfish related. Oh, here we have all the plants and all the mammals related to a common ancestor. All they did was draw a bunch of lines on paper. So I asked you, and I ask you again point blank. Here we go. Here's similar to what you use. Elephants, manatees, the hyrax, and the rhinoceros going back to a common ancestor. Tree of life, macroevolution. This is nothing more than lines on paper showing, let's see, tetrapods and fish having a common ancestor. Look at this one. Animals, fungi, and plants. So I would assume that you would put yourself in the animal category, as would I. And plants, I'd put the banana in that category. Is this chart accurate? Is this really a phylogenetic tree that you would recommend we teach to the students? David, do you believe you're related to a banana? Just yes or no? This one shows all kinds of different animals going to a common ancestor. All the forms of life on Earth today, includes bananas, are descended from a common ancestor. Found in a population of primitive unicellular organisms. There's no such thing as a primitive unicellular organism. If it's alive, it's complicated. It says no traces remain. So they draw the pictures of the humans and the birds and the reptiles coming from a common ancestor. I'm just pointing out this is not science. Science is what we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. We know humans make baby humans. That we know. We know reptiles make baby reptiles. We do not know they have a common ancestor. Stop teaching that lie to the students. Here we have turtles, let's see, and snakes.
1 minute.
And birds. Wow. Having a common ancestor with the mammals. That would include you, David. So going back to a common ancestor. Here we go. We have the protozoa slowly developing into everything. This kind of charts are in the textbooks. Here we have the humans and the bananas going back to a common ancestor. David, you may not want to admit it, and you should be embarrassed to admit it, but it's true. You believe you're related to a banana. I don't. I think Noah probably had 16 to say 18, 20,000 critters on the ark. I don't know. But going from 20,000 animals to what we have today is nothing compared to going from an amoeba to everything we have today in 1 trillion years. It's not going to work. Your turn.
Okay, thank you very much, Kent, for that 8-minute rebuttal. Perfect timing. That concludes the opening statements and the rebuttals. And to the audience, I am all caught up on questions. Some fantastic questions coming in already. So, David, what we're going to do?
I don't think I got the chance to do a rebuttal, did I?
Yep. Yeah, we had you started with your opening statement, then Kent went, and then David, you got 8-minute rebuttal, and then Kent got an 8-minute rebuttal.
Okay.
So what we'll do now that we got openings and rebuttals out of the way is we'll get into a free-flowing discussion. Let's try and ask each other questions and discuss each topic and point. So since Kent just ended, David, we'll let you choose the first topic to discuss for the discussion portion. Go ahead.
Well, let me cover just a couple of things here. I know I'll get shot down for it, but those horse kinds that Todd mentioned are exactly related to each other, and that's why he said that. They are related. You can see it in the skeletons that they have similar ankle and foot bones, similar skulls, similar teeth. The teeth, and they show a progression from one to the other. I would challenge you to give me the reference where modern horses are buried in layers below Eohippus or Hipparchus, because I would like to see that. So please find your reference where you say modern horses are buried in layers below these other animals, and I'll retract my statement. But I don't think you have seen that anywhere, and you're so quick to say that's not science, but you don't know how science is done. You don't know what those scientists go through to prove that those are related to each other. For one thing, on the top of Mount Everest, there are no clams on the top of Mount Everest. None. There are.
Oh, David, I'm going to stop you there because since it's a discussion, I just want to be fair to the both of you. So so we'll stick to one topic. We're on the horse evolution topic, and then we can certainly go to the clams topic after David. Go ahead, Kent. Take as much time as you need.
All right, let's stick on the horse evolution. This is the same picture you used, only in color. This is what's in typical textbooks. It seems to be cutting off my slides on part of your screen. Is that you? Something's wrong with the slides. Okay, there we go.
You're good now, Kent.
All right. The Eohippus is not a horse. It's a hyrax. They're still alive today. It has 18 pairs of ribs. The next one you have in your sequence there has 15 pairs of ribs. How did this animal go from 18 pairs of ribs to 15 pairs of ribs? Do you think these are related? Then you go to 19 pairs of ribs, and then to 18 today. Some Arabians have 19. Okay. Putting these animals side by side and claiming they're related is not observable science. The first one has a 4-toed foot. The horses have a hoof. Do you believe this is accurate representation of how the horse evolved? They show this in the textbooks. Like 60 million years ago, the Hyracotherum evolved into something else. That's my point is, they're wrong if they believe that. Nobody's ever seen a horse with 15 pairs of ribs turn into anything else. How's it going to grow this extra ribs or lose the ribs? There's a lot of muscle, a lot of nerve, a lot of stuff going on with any part of the body. You don't just take one part out or add one part like that. Just because they put them on side by side on a piece of paper doesn't mean anything to anybody with a brain in their head. I could put a marble next to a bowling ball, next to a space shuttle, and that would prove they're related. That's the logic you guys use. I'm sorry, the horse evolution isn't true. So go ahead.
Once again, you need to show me a reference of all these different, how they got more ribs, less ribs, more ribs, less ribs. That's not the way it would work. I'm quite certain it's not like that. If you have a reference that shows that, then I will retract my statement. And
Okay.
so on back to clams, there are no clams on Mount Everest. And I checked with 4 or 5 references. They were all chefs that show people how to cook clams. And they said, if you wash them in the water and they're closed, that means they're dead. Throw them away. The ones that are alive will be open just a little bit, and they will move if you touch them. So the ones that are closed are already dead. And you keep saying over and over and over in 300 debates, you've said it was in the closed position. Well, the closed position means it's dead. And clams are not on Mount Everest. So try not to keep harping on that all the time.
Okay. That
Okay,
one
go
topic
ahead.
there, Donnie?
Yep. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah. Okay. I will definitely find some references on that. Have you ever walked along the beach and you find seashells by the millions? They are not closed. They're open, and somebody eats what's inside of them. The muscle is pulling them together. When the muscle relaxes, they fall apart, and they open it up to eat. I agree. But when a clam is closed, it's got the muscle in there pulling the shells together. I'm sorry, you are wrong, but I'll find the references on that. As far as the top of Mount Everest, I have pictures from several textbooks. I can't find them quickly here, where they talk about Edmund Hillary, when he got to the top of Mount Everest, found him planting a flag on top of clams. What he said, Edmund Hillary, but I'll find the reference. I understand that's important. Yeah, I'd like you to show me the reference of any animal producing a different kind of animal. Show me the reference of a horse with 18 ribs producing one with 15, or one with 15 producing one with 19. How can this happen?
No.
You can put them side by side on paper, but that's not science.
First of all, you have to show me how it does that, because you're the one that claims all those rib changes. So you're going to have to give me a reference on the number of ribs all these animals had.
Okay, fair question. Let's see. I will look that up here.
Wish I could remember all the points you had. I guess I'm finished for now.
Okay. Not only are the ribs different on these ones, just because they lined them up because they think they want to go in that order, the ribs are different. The toes are certainly different. Would you agree that the Hyracotherium has 4 toes and does not have a hoof?
I agree that it has 4 toes, but if you look at that picture, the 3 of those toes don't touch the ground. It's beginning to evolve into a 1-hoof animal.
This is what you believe.
So
show me this happening. How did it go?
Look on your picture there.
Oh, there we go. So you know that animal walked without all 4 toes touching the ground. Is that what you're saying? You know that?
Yes, I know that for sure from looking at that foot. Just like I can look at your toes, your shoes, and tell how you walk on your feet. If you're walking on toes or your heels, or I can look at that and tell.
Okay. The teeth of these animals is different. The skull shapes are different.
No.
Here's the reference. Right here. You asked for a reference. Modern horses are found in layers with and lower than ancient horses. This is from Pravda in Moscow, translated back in 1984. A horse from the dinosaur epoch was the name of the article in Russian. See if you can copy that and find it. This was the article where they said modern horses were found in layers with and lower than ancient horses. Interesting. This book, Noah to Abram, right here on my shelf, The Turbulent Years, talks about they're never found in the order presented. So there's a reference. The guy said it in his book. And 3-toed and 1-toed horses graze side by side. Why did Tulsa Zoo remove their display?
Did he see those horses grazing side by side?
Did what now?
Did he see those horses grazing side by side?
Did you see any animal turn into a different kind of animal?
No, I'm asking you. You just said he saw them grazing side by side. So did he see those doing that? Or is that just written in that book?
By the evolutionist logic, if you find the fossils of both of them in the same layer at the same location, you would say they live together and graze together. That's common sense. I'll do some more checking on that since you'd like more references. But changing from a 4-toed horse to a 1-toed horse, like you guys imagine, that's losing, not gaining. That's not improvement. That's losing information.
No,
and it's not science. It's not observable science. They put them going smaller to bigger. You don't know that.
It's gaining function because it's able to run faster. It doesn't have to worry about those toes being caught up on things. A single-toed horse can outrun any two-toed cow anywhere.
Well, cows are not designed to run, period, like that. But I think there's quite a few animals that, like monkeys, they have toes. Do they run pretty fast?
Yeah, I think they do through the trees.
Right.
The other thing I
I'm lost on the logic. The point is, science is what we can study, observe, test, and demonstrate. Nobody's ever observed any animal produce something that anybody would consider, oh, wow, that's a brand new kind. You might call it a new species, like the Kaibab squirrel and the Abert squirrel are now considered new species. They're still a squirrel. They can still mate. They can still produce babies.
So let's go back to those cows producing bison. Nobody has ever observed a cow giving birth to a bison, and yet they are in the same family. And according to every creationist group, that family group is the kind that was on the ark. So if there were two Guernsey cows on the ark, how in the world did those two cows give birth to a bison? You keep talking to me about amoebas and bananas, but you're avoiding talking about how cattle gave birth to a bison.
Okay, first of all,
that, according to you, that has to be within the last 2,000 years.
4,400.
Okay, 4,000.
Okay, since the flood. I have never said, and I will not say tonight, and I don't believe, that Noah had two Guernsey cows on the ark. He had two of the cattle kind, and they have diversified, generally because of human intervention, selecting what they want. Wow, I want the bigger cow or the smaller cow, and they let those mate, okay? Cows can jump. That's been demonstrated. The record, I saw one jump over a 7-foot fence. There's a bull jumping over 2 6-foot fences right here in this rodeo. So
I get all that, but you're still avoiding talking about where the bison came from. The bison is in that same kind group as the cow kind that you're talking about. So those two cows, somehow or other, that bison was born.
I don't know what Noah took on the ark. I'll find out when I get to heaven and try to get the message to you wherever you are at that time.
Oh, I see. So you can gripe at me for an amoeba giving birth to a banana, but you can't even tell your own kinds, whether your kinds are the same or not the same, or produced or not produced, or but it's okay for you to gripe at me for saying that horses evolved from smaller animals.
Okay, to change from a cow to a bison is nothing compared to changing from an amoeba to a bison. Do you believe the original amoeba on this family tree here, do you believe the amoeba over billions of years produced a cow? Just yes or no?
No. And you're avoiding my question again. You're saying amoeba changed into a bison. Maybe you'll get to heaven and find out how an amoeba changed into a bison. But unless you understand the way this kind thing works, there are baraminologists all over the place now that talk and study these things. And they make diagrams just like that one you have up on the screen. And those are thought to be creationist diagrams because they're an orchard and not a tree. So again, you're telling me over and over an amoeba evolved into a whale or something, but you're not addressing your kinds that must have somehow developed a bison and that antelope that was on the video. Those are all part of the cattle kind.
Well, I don't know what's all involved in the cow kind. I've said it about 8 times. I'll say it again. I don't know what Noah took on the ark. I think he might have had 8 pairs of cows or cow kinds, and there are now 400 varieties. I don't know what he had. Maybe the antelope is not related to the cow. You want to put them in, I never put them in the same category. But this public school textbook, Heath Biology, a major publisher, has humans and snakes and turtles going to a common ancestor. This is a public school textbook. David, do you believe humans and snakes have a common ancestor?
No. And once again, you've avoided the question, which I understand. You don't want to try to figure out why evolution from a antelope into a cow is different than an amoeba into a whale. Those are two totally unrelated.
I'm just going to jump in here real quick, just for clarification purposes, for the sake of the topic of the debate, David, and for the audience as well. Do you not hold to universal common ancestry, which would say all life, including plants and animals, ultimately share relationship through common ancestry? Just for clarification.
I don't know that for myself, and that's just for me. I don't teach it in school or in college. For myself, for me, I don't believe in common ancestry.
But would you agree that universal common ancestry is taught in the textbooks and in school, and as evolutionary biologists would advance, teaches that snakes, humans, whales, plants all go back to a universal common ancestor? Would you at least agree with that, David?
No, I won't agree with that because I took advanced biology as a freshman in high school, and they didn't teach any of that.
Okay,
we
go ahead,
went
Ken, if you'd
fossil
like to.
hunting. We looked for fossils. We looked at plants. We looked at leaves, but they didn't talk anything about amoebas turning into whales.
All right. Does this, I forgot to put I've got all my books right here. I will get a lot more pictures of family trees from the biology textbooks and earth science textbooks and general science textbooks. I've got hundreds of them here. I will photograph them, add them to my presentation with the reference where it's from. The books do teach an amoeba at the bottom, or sometimes a protozoa or a bacteria, a single-celled creature, turned into everything. If you look at this picture right here, up near the top on the left-hand side is a whale. Up on the top near the middle on the slightly right-hand side are humans. Right above them is birds. This is teaching the tree of life says birds and humans and whales came from an amoeba. If you don't believe this is true, help me get it out of the books, because this is what they're teaching. Origin of life, a single-celled creature turned into everything. This is my point. This isn't science. This is religion.
The difference between you and me is that you're going to assume that that's not science. There is no science behind that. you're going to assume that because you've got the wrong definition for science, and you're just very flippantly blowing off things and saying that's not science, so get it out of the textbooks. Well,
Okay.
there might be scientists somewhere that have done experiments that know the science, the experiments, the observations behind those, and they will tell you what it is, and then you will know it's science.
Okay.
But until
Can I
you've done that, you can't say it's not science unless you've can prove that.
Oh, no, I can say whatever I want. I'd like each
Oh,
person
sure.
in my audience here, would each of you look at me, hey, go get any biology textbook, find the family tree, and set it here on my desk, okay? I've got hundreds of them. They do teach this stuff, and this is propaganda. My point is, this one shows a single-celled creature like an amoeba turning into a shark, turning into a fern, turning into a starfish, turning into an octopus.
No, it doesn't show that.
It doesn't show that?
I can't.
They draw
see
lines connecting them.
I can't see your picture, but
I've got it full screen, David. I've got it full
that-
screen for you.
does that
Type in
amoeba?
family tree. Good, let me have it. No, family tree of all the life forms.
Does that amoeba have a line that draws it directly to that shark? Where's
I
the
didn't see-
line that connects those that
I
amoeba
never said
and that
directly.
shark?
There are lots of single-celled organisms, 20,000 different species of single-celled organisms. Single-celled organisms are not simple. The single-celled amoeba has 670 trillion genome pairs, base pairs, 670 trillion. That's not
You've
simple.
changed the subject again.
Well, okay, the textbooks show them all coming from a single-celled creature, the origin of
No.
life. Yeah, they
Where's the
Right here.
line? I want to see
Protozoa.
you
Does this have a
got the-
line? Does this textbook have a line from protozoa going up to humans? Yes or no?
straight to humans. I
Does
want to see a straight line going from protozoa directly to human.
Well, they had to curve the line to go around the fish picture, David. But this is obviously teaching everything is related. Nobody's ever seen any of this. None of it. This is
Nobody's
propaganda.
ever seen a cow give birth to a bison.
No.
So
And I
that's
don't know
not
that they're
true.
related. How do we decide that a cow and a bison are related? I don't think the cows are interested in the bison. Turn them loose in the field and see. I know bison have been crossbred with other ones. A beefalo, there's a beefalo that's been developed from a buffalo and a cow being produced. They can crossbreed. But a cow and a bird cannot. And a buffalo and an amoeba cannot produce babies. But this one shows reptiles like turtles and birds having a common ancestor, which was a protozoa. My whole point is, this is propaganda. This isn't science.
Your whole point is that you don't understand that, so you're going to wave it off and say, we don't teach that kind of science. We only teach this kind of science.
What do you mean I don't understand it? Look at the picture.
I'm telling you.
This is what the kids are taught. They're taught, let me see it here. All forms of life have a common ancestor. Okay, here we have from the beginning, the story of human evolution by David Peters, okay? And here it has a family tree with the monkeys and the kangaroos and the armadillo and the duck-billed platypus all going to a common ancestor. You believe a duck-billed platypus and a shark and a human have a common ancestor? This is being taught in the schools. Do you believe that?
Is it taught? I have never
You've got
heard.
to be kidding.
I have three.
I'm going to cut in, David, because I want this debate to progress. And, we've had evolutionary biologists on here debating Kant. And they have no problem admitting that universal common ancestry literally teaches, believe it or not, that all life is universally related. That goes for plants and animals. So until you admit that fact, in terms of that's what universal common ancestry teaches, how are we supposed to progress in this discussion? I don't understand why you're just denying the basic starting point of universal common descent. David, go ahead.
I can understand the amoeba or the protozoa or whatever turning into a two-celled creature, and then that two-celled creature turns into a five-celled creature. And over 60 million years, these little small changes somehow progress to making much more complicated creatures.
Right. And for clarification for Kent, you're not saying that a single-celled like ancestor gave birth to a whale in one generation.
No.
Kent, right.
Over billions of generations, trillions, quadrillions, you can have all the time you want. It doesn't happen at all. Here is a Miller-Levine biology book used in many major public schools, showing the humans and the fish and the starfish going back to a common ancestor, which was a single-celled creature. This is what they teach, David. Here is Glencoe Biology, the fourth largest publisher in America, the last time I checked, teaching that the humans, the fungi, the animals, the plants, and the bacteria come to a common ancestor. Yes, this is what is taught. You're the first person who's ever tried to deny that that is what they teach. This would put you related to a banana.
I am not saying that they don't teach that. I don't know. I told you in the first place that
I'm showing you.
I didn't take any of them. You're showing me pictures. You're not showing me that they're teaching in words. It says right below the picture, a protozoa turned into a whale.
I never said over millions of generations. Words. This one shows, let's see, the single-celled creature turning into everything. It's got all the life forms on the top.
Everything. So you're saying that a single-celled creature turned into everything. That's where you're getting it wrong. The single-celled creature evolved into a multi-celled creature. It did not evolve into a whale all at once. I can't imagine how a protozoa would give birth to a whale.
I never said a bird gave birth to a whale. The lines on paper show the bird and the whale having a common ancestor. The one up on the screen here shows a shark having a common ancestor with a fern, a plant. This book here is Raven Johnson, Biology. I believe it was the second bestseller at the time when it was published, showing a bacteria, a Monera, a bacteria, turning into all the animals, all the plants, and all the fungi. You should not deny this, David. We could go on with the debate if you would admit this is what is taught. Are you embarrassed that they teach that? You should be, but are you?
I didn't say that they didn't teach it. I told you at least 3 times that they probably teach that. To me, when I was in school, I took advanced biology and they didn't teach that. Now, I don't know what students learn today. I know they learn a lot of things that I didn't go through. But you're still going to the bottom of the tree and saying that protozoa there evolved into a whale, and it evolved into a human. Those things happen. Those things may have happened, and I can see where they happened, but they didn't happen like you're saying, where you're jumping 50 million steps and saying a protozoa turned into a whale.
Okay.
And I agree, we need to go on to something else.
Miller, the Catholic who teaches in Rhode Island, or did, and wrote this book, biology textbook, that the whale, right here, the whale is related to the common ancestor with the animals that walk on land. And let's see, they're all in here. They do teach this junk. So, David, the topic of the debate tonight is, where's the evidence for macroevolution? I think we would agree we can see variations happening within the species or within the kind, whatever word you want to use. Let's not get caught up on that. Do we ever see it go beyond that? The answer is no.
I haven't seen it go from a cow to a bison yet. Or
cow and a bison. I mean, either. I can find the reference where they did. Somebody type in beefalo. Show me where they did that. Somebody got a phone. Beefalo. They crossed a cow and a buffalo and got babies. I bet you'll never be able to cross a pine tree and a buffalo, or an apple and a buffalo. I bet you never will be able to do that.
I agree. And do you know also that those crossbreed animals, the mule, all of those zebra, horse, donkey crossbreeds, they're all infertile. They can't have babies. So
they can't even make a baby when you take a pine tree and a buffalo, let alone an infertile one. Here we go. Beefalo, domesticated cattle breed, beefalo, hybrid, a cross between usually a male in managed breeding programs, the American bison, usually a female. The breed was created to combine the characteristics of both animals for beef production. Just type in beefalo, Beefalo. Beefalo.
But
they're walking around today.
You still don't know.
There are no pine triolos.
I agree with that. You keep going to these ridiculous things. You seem to want
That's what they
be...
teach. They teach everything goes to a common ancestor. That's the ridiculous picture they're putting in the books. I got a little stack of them here. I'll put them together just for you, David.
The ridiculous thing is that you want to make it just as ridiculous as sounding as it can. So you say a protozoa turns into a whale.
How many times do I got to show you?
Protozoa didn't do that. Okay, the protozoa turned into something related to a protozoa, not a whale. No protozoa has ever given birth to a whale.
Did this protozoa on this picture, over trillions of generations, turn into a human?
No.
Why did
that protozoa turned into a two-celled creature?
You think so?
That protozoa is replaced. He's gone. So now we have a two-celled.
You mean there are no more protozoa in the world today?
That protozoa, that one right there that you were pointing at, you're putting words into my mouth to see if you can make me upset.
Are there still single-celled creatures today?
Yes.
And when they produce babies, are they single-celled creatures?
Most of the time. I showed you a design where single-celled creatures were evolved into two-celled, multi-celled creatures. So they can evolve.
That has been debunked. They got a colony
going. It hasn't been debunked. I gave you 5 references for different experiments where they're doing that. If it's debunked, they might have debunked one. I don't think so. But 5 different experiments, totally unrelated, are not likely to be wrong.
Okay, I took a picture of the screen when you showed that, so I will do some research on that. But are you saying in nature, without laboratory assistance, you can show me evidence of a single-celled creature becoming multicellular?
That's what those 5 experiments were exactly.
Wait, those 5 experiments done in a laboratory where they forced something to happen? I mean, can you see this in nature?
They did not force it. They put the bacteria into a solution that they were comfortable in. They were breeding, and then they evolved into multicelled creatures. No
I don't believe you.
outside pressure.
Okay, I don't believe you for 1 second, but I will do research on that, and I appreciate that.
I
But
gave
if
you
that
the
happened,
references.
going from single cell to multi-cell, is that enough to convince you that if we let that go for a long time, it could produce a whale?
Sure, if it went for long enough, but it would have to be 1,000,000 years or more.
Yeah, I like it. Billions of years. You're good at that. Okay. This is why it's imagination. It's not observable science.
Why?
Science is what we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate. It comes from the Latin word "ser," to know. What do we know? We know cows produce cows. We know bacteria produce bacteria. We do not know bacteria can turn into a cow over trillions of generations. You can believe that, but we don't know that.
So a cow turning into a bison, that's science. But an amoeba over 60 million years is turning into something is not science. That's what you're saying.
Nobody's ever observed an amoeba produce a non-amoeba baby.
They have in those experiments. And once again,
Okay.
I'm done if you're done, Donnie.
All right,
Gentlemen.
next topic, Donnie.
Yeah, I've got, so it's up to you how you gentlemen want to proceed. I've got a ton of audience questions. Why don't we do a 5-minute concluding statement, and then we'll get into some on-topic audience questions that we can engage. David, since you started us off with your opening statement, let's give you the first 5-minute closing, and then we'll do the same for Ken. Whenever
If
you're ready,
you can
David.
show my slides again. My closing remarks, the things that I've learned, not just tonight, but over several debates and things I've listened to, is that number one, patriarchs like Noah aged over 900 years, so they begin to look like Neanderthals. Their brow ridges kept growing and their occipital bones kept getting lower. Number two, scientists have created radiative rocks in the lab, and then the next day there's no radiation. Creationists say that. New World monkeys got to South America because someone took them there. That's how they got from Noah's Ark. Apparently Noah got his boat and took some monkeys over to South America. Geology as a science is part of evolution, and because of that, it's undefined. It's not a real science. Dinosaur skeletons are not fossils. They're really bones. Noah's flood did not affect the entire globe at the same time. Apparently, some parts were dry, some parts were wet, some parts were flooded. Another one, Galapagos finches do not differ from island to island by speciation, but rather they differ from season to season by less than 1.1 inch due to what food is available. So somehow their bills are able to get fatter and get skinnier season to season. So you can see from these are not scientific knowledge. They are not scientific in any manner of speaking. And until creationists can come up with real science that really proves things, they're not going to win me over. That's all.
David, thank you for your closing statement. And Kent, we will give you 5 minutes as well. Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Okay. What we've observed in the world is dogs produce dogs, cows produce cows, and there's never any exceptions to that. Macroevolution would mean all different dogs and cows have a common ancestor. The charts clearly show, and I've got 20 of them here now beside me, that David's related to a banana. That's what the chart shows, the kid. Now, I will answer his question. Can you put his slide back up there, that last one he left off with? I'll answer each one of these one by one.
Sure, yeah. David, if you could help us out and put I'll stop the timer. If you could put your last slide up with all the questions, and we can give Kent, there we go, Kent.
Okay. Yes, I do strongly believe that people lived past 900. I got a chart here showing the dates given from the Bible, Genesis chapter 5. There are many references around the world to what's called the Golden Age. Type that in, Golden Age. Many cultures besides the Bible teach man used to live to be nearly 1,000. Why would they teach such a strange thing? It's true. We certainly have evidence of giant animals of every kind. Many animals never stop growing. Beaver never stopped growing. They find fossil beavers 8 feet long. Well, they had to get really old to do that. We got beavers here in our lake. The biggest beaver in the world today is 30 inches. But they find 8-foot fossils. They find dragonflies with 3-foot wingspan. Something was different. Yes, I do believe they lived to be 900, but I'm not requiring that to be taught in the schools. You guys are requiring it to be taught that the humans and amoeba have a common ancestor. As far as the brow ridge, it does keep growing because the masseter muscle and the frontalis muscle are pulling on the eyebrow ridge, and the bones respond to the muscles. Over a period of a long period of time, like several hundred years, you would get bigger eyebrow ridges. Yes, I do believe the Neanderthals were probably just people that lived a long time. That's all. I do believe that, okay? Scientists created radiative rocks in the laboratory and then have no radiation. I've not seen that claim. New World monkeys got to South America. Someone took them there. Well, the articles, Matt Powell on our staff did a whole series on the monkeys rafted over here. They made a raft or found one and floated over. That's what the media teaches. That's what the books teach. Okay, geology as a science is part of evolution and is undefined otherwise. Geology, geo means earth, ology is study. I love geology. I'm not against geology. I love to study the earth. I can tell you quite a bit about it. I taught earth science for 15 years. I think I could hold a quiz with anybody on that topic, but it's definitely part of science. Evolution, though, teaches that the earth came from a dot of near nothing exploding. The Big Bang Theory is, number one, cosmic evolution. Certainly you have to have matter, time, and space to hear somehow. They teach nothing exploded. I covered that last night on my program, Kent Hovind Official. And that's what the books show. Nothing exploded and made everything. And the fragments flying out turned into the earth. Well, I forget the weight of the earth right now. I could look it up, 76 trillion tons or something like that. It's a lot. Oh, no, it's not that much. Okay. So as far as geology as a science is part of evolution, it's essential that you include evolution with geology because they teach the layers are different ages, which is insane. If the top layer is younger, where is it coming from? Outer space? All the layers are the same age, all shuffled up in one big flood. You can shuffle a deck of cards and the top card isn't younger. They find petrified trees standing up, connecting all the layers. I show that in all video number 4. So this is a lie. Let's see. Dinosaur skeletons are not fossils. What on earth? I believe fossil is the remains of an animal that was once alive. Generally, they're petrified, not always. There's several different methods of petrification, but I don't understand that one at all. I believe dinosaur skeletons are certainly fossils. We got some dinosaur bones in our museum right here. Come visit. Noah's flood did not affect the entire globe. I've never said that. It affected every square inch of the globe. The whole world was underwater during Noah's flood. I believe that. Galapagos finches do not differ from island to island by speciation, but rather different season to season. Oh, no, they're different. They're considered different species on the different islands, but they're still a finch, still a bird, beak, wings, bird, feathers. It's a bird. That's not proof they're related to a whale or an elephant. Darwin shot every bird he could find because he loved worms, and he thought it was mean for birds to eat the worms, so he hated birds. He shot them, collected them, brought them back to England, and classified them, and discovered the different islands had different beak shapes. Some islands, all they had was tough nuts to crack. That's all the bird had to eat. So if you didn't have a big beak, you didn't survive on that island. So he discovered the birds on that island all had a big beak. Yeah, good observation, Charlie. It's still a finch. Other islands had insects to eat. They had skinny beaks. Still a finch. Darwin didn't discover anything about evolution. He discovered natural selection. Nature selects certain animals to survive in certain areas. I bet if you went to the desert, you wouldn't find many animals with long hair because they can't survive the heat. If you went to Alaska, you wouldn't find many animals with short hair. The dingo is a great dog for the desert area. The wolf is a great dog for the cold areas. It's got lots of fur. This is nature selecting, not creating, selecting something already existing. So I think I got all his questions there. Okay, I do believe the Bible is true. I believe the evidence shows clearly the animals and plants always bring forth after their kind. I'd be willing to bet if you went to any maternity ward in the world and a woman is expecting a baby, when it comes out, it'll be a human. I'd bet you $5 on that every time. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kent, for that concluding statement. David and Kent, thank you for the debate. Very enjoyable for sure. Let's get right into some of these questions. So we'll give you both the opportunity to respond as always, but just to make sure we are moving along smoothly, whoever the question was for, we'll make sure that they get the last word. So here we go. First question comes in for David from Who, What, When. $5 super chat. Same for truth. Question for David. Mice speciate, but have we observed formation of new structures like wings, not post hoc fossil assumptions? Go ahead.
No, they have not produced wings because wings are not advantageous to them. So they're not going to begin to evolve those appendages, which means they have to give up other appendages. It just won't happen. The ones that I showed you in my talk was a mouse that had totally different numbers of chromosomes than its predecessors. Now, somehow it evolved that way. Whether it got wings or not, obviously not, but it did evolve into a new species.
Okay, my turn?
Yes, go ahead, Kent.
Thank you. I just Googled it. There are 43 different species of mice. I'd be willing to bet they had a common ancestor called a mouse, recognizable as a mouse. Long tail, 4 feet, nose on the front, tail on the back, hair on the body, on the outside. I believe all 43 species of mice had a common ancestor. David believes mice have a common ancestor with cockroaches and mosquitoes. Don't you, David?
No, once again, you're grandstanding to try to make it sound ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
It is not ridiculous. And if you would go back and start at the beginning, add 1 million years and see what happens then, you would begin to believe it's not ridiculous. Talk to your baraminology guys like Todd, what's his name?
Well, okay. This chart has animals, which would include mice, and all related to pine trees and starfish and sharks.
You keep bringing up that chart.
Real ridiculous.
That's not part of the question. You change the subject again.
Okay. No animal has ever been observed to produce new structures. What new structures can you point to that have been observed to happen? Not a changing of an existing structure, a new structure. Worms don't have arms. Have we seen worms grow arms?
Again, that wasn't part of the question.
It's right there on the screen.
All right, here's a question that comes in from Young Earth Creation. Thank you for the question. Matt, this might help a little bit too. So he's pointing to a study. Actually, I think this, if I look at the article that it came from, nationalgeographic.com. And the article says, David, the question's for you. All life on Earth, so from the evolutionary perspective, evolved from a single-celled organism that lived roughly 3.5 billion years ago. And the title of it, All Species Evolved from a Single Cell, study finds. What are your thoughts on that as it relates to single-celled organism to whale evolution over time? Go ahead.
If we could go back 3.5 million years and watch that happen, then I will believe it. what Kent is going to tell you here in just a second, and when you give him a chance, he's going to say a single-celled creature turned into both a whale and a pine tree. But that's not the way it works. Sorry.
Go ahead, Kent.
I agree. That is not the way it works. It doesn't work at all. And the books do teach a single-celled creature turned into a pine tree. They do teach that. I object to that. That's not science. I think it's dumb. But if you want to teach, if you want to believe that, that's fine. Keep your religion at home. Don't put it in our public schools and publicly funded universities and museums. This book shows clearly a single-celled creature turned into a pine tree and a human over billions of generations. It doesn't happen at all. The question was, all life on Earth evolved from a single-celled organism 3.5 billion years. That's what National Pornographic teaches, and that's probably what they believe. But it's not science. It's a religion.
Again, I think you don't know what a real science is. You wouldn't know it if you saw it. You don't know the scientists that studied that to produce that report, and you don't know the information that they have and where they got it from. And you weren't there 4,400 years ago to see two cows get off the ark and turn into a bison. And somehow we got a bison out of those two cows that were on the ark.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know for sure what was on the ark, but Noah might have had several different varieties that have now produced several dozens of varieties, 400 kinds of cows. Most of them produced by man for some reason, through selective breeding, but they're still a cow. But you want to believe the cow is related to the ladybug. This chart shows...
I didn't say that. You said that.
I'm showing you what they teach.
I want to know the kinds, how kinds got off of the ark and became the other kinds in that group of kinds.
Okay.
And you
look at the picture.
tell me that.
Right. Look at the question right on the screen. All life on Earth. Would that include ladybugs?
I saw the question, and you don't have to read it real slow. I can see it.
Okay. All life on Earth, that includes ladybugs, cows, and pine trees, and humans, like on the chart here, evolved from a single-celled organism. This is what's being taught. And this is what is stupid. That is being taught. I just showed you all the textbooks. All the life forms go back to a single-celled common organism.
You showed me the charts, the pictures. You showed me the lines going up and saying that proves that we believe a single cell turned into a whale. What I want you to do, if you're going to send me any references, which I don't think you will, but show me in a book where it says a protozoa turns into a whale. I want to see that.
David, just again for clarification purposes, this article from National Geographic is saying that all life, including whales, including pine trees, including humans, have descended ultimately from single-celled organisms. I mean, that's what it says. So I think myself and the audience is just a little confused. Okay, so you agree with that?
What you're doing, though, Kent is doing, is scrap all those middle steps, and let's just say a protozoa is related to a whale. Okay? So that's what he's saying. And what I want to see is how they teach that protozoa turning into a whale in textbooks.
Okay.
Because that's
I've got it up on screen.
That is the ridiculous part.
David, it's on screen for you. All the many forms of life on Earth today, including whales, humans, David, pine trees, are descended from a common ancestor found in a population of primitive unicellular organisms. What more do you want, son?
I want you to stop grandstanding this you believe that you're related to a strawberry, because that is being totally ridiculous. If you want
No,
to do
it's
stand-up
exposing.
comedy,
It's ridiculous.
if you want to do stand-up comedy, get in a group and do stand-up comedy. But saying that Professor Dave believes he's related to a strawberry, that's something that people laugh at. And that's not what
They should.
evolution is. It's a
They
science
should.
that scientists have studied and have built from different steps that they take. You know, one scientist may study whales and how they evolved from Paxidus. And
Amoeba.
so that's
Okay.
what I'm talking about. And this grandstanding bit about cards, and the top card's the same age as the bottom card and all that stuff is just ridiculous grandstanding.
Okay,
I am
gentlemen.
simply exposing how ridiculous it is. This is the book. It's right in front of you, Glencoe Biology, and this is taught in all the books. All the many forms of life on Earth today, that would include the strawberry, that would include Professor Dave, that would include the whale, that would include the pine tree. All the many forms of life on Earth today are descended from a common ancestor. This is what they teach. And yes, it is ridiculous. I'm simply exposing it. That's all. And you don't like it, or make it look stupid. Well, it is stupid. Okay, next question.
Okay, gentlemen, let's do a power round now. Been a lot of fun. Let's get through a few questions here a little more quickly. So here comes a question from Samir, $10 super chat. Question for David. The universe isn't old enough to deal 52 playing cards every second in every possible combination. What are the mathematical odds of randomly arranging 3 trillion atoms into a single cell?
Well, if you arrange 3 trillion atoms, I believe that's not a single cell. So 3 trillion atoms would mean there's a 3 trillion atom cell. As far as the mathematical odds, sure, I could calculate the odds. The odds are astronomically small, I suppose. You want me to say that? Again, you're somehow, well, that's what I'll say, is that the odds are astronomically small.
Okay, thank you, David.
agree.
Kent, over to you.
I think it goes beyond astronomically small. I think it goes to impossible. Here is an amoeba with 670, billion base pairs in the genome. Each of those is made up of a whole bunch of atoms. The average person has 100 trillion cells. Each cell has 100 trillion atoms. Atoms are really small. Putting them together to arrange to one cell is impossible. It had to be designed. I don't have any problem claiming, wow, what an amazing designer. I worship him. He's amazing. I can't wait to meet him. David, I'd like you to meet him.
All right.
Next question.
Okay, gentlemen. Next question comes in for you again, David. So Jeff Koval, thank you for your question. He asks, how does your evolutionary theory explain octopus and squids? Do you think they came from space?
No, they didn't come from space. They're part of the evolutionary tree, just like every other animal. Coming from space was some ridiculous thing like Kent would dream up to try and prove that evolution is wrong or life didn't come from the earth.
Okay, thank you, David. Kent, over to you.
Thank you for the question, Jeff. The textbooks show the octopus in the lower left corner there having a common ancestor with the sharks and the seaweed, and if you go to the top of the page, with the humans. They do show octopus related to humans from a common ancestor, which was a single-celled creature like an amoeba. I think this is real stupid, real stupid. But you can believe that, but quit calling it science. We never observe octopus produce non-octopus babies. Never.
Thank you, Kent. David, did you want a last word since it's your question?
No, I'll decline.
Okay. Okay. We'll kind of start wrapping it up here with one, maybe two more questions. Let's see what I can get up here. I guess. Okay. Here's another question for you, David. Comes in from Jay. Thank you, Jay. He's asking, David, how did the first predators not end all life, since it would take millions of years for the prey to develop defenses?
Well, it would take millions of years for the predators to develop offenses. You know, if you have two football teams and one of them is a team from elementary school, a bunch of 6-year-olds, and the other one won the NFL Super Bowl last year, you can pretty well guarantee which one is going to win. But as the predators develop, then the prey develops other defenses, and so it just builds on itself as it goes. You know, I know around here they have a pronghorn, and they can run like 65 miles an hour. We don't have any predators that run that fast, so I guess it's the predator's turn to develop something.
Okay, thank you, David. Kent, anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, he avoided the question completely. I don't think it happened at all. What he gave was a SpongeBob imagination. Just imagine, it got faster and faster. Oh, wow. Oh, you got another SpongeBob. We got a bunch of them around here. And David's got his Patrick. I can't wait to see him. So you made up a story that, well, they must have got faster. Where's the science for this? Nobody observes this. It's not science, that's all. I just object to evolution being called science. It's a religion. They should admit it's a religion. Go start a church, label it evolution believers, and everybody can go there and be happy and sing, you know, my praise to my rock, my creator.
All right, thank you, Kent. Yeah, go ahead, David.
I didn't do a SpongeBob thing. I didn't make up a story. If you want to research the science behind predators and prey, I would be glad to work on that with you. But I don't think you care. You don't care whether a wolf can catch a sheep or a donkey can kill a wolf. All you care about is that amoeba down there. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, David. It's been a ton of fun. We are at the 2-hour mark, guys, so we got to end it somewhere. Kent, David, thank you for another memorable debate. Gentlemen, did you have any final words? Go ahead, David.
You notice how Kent's closing remarks were several new points that I didn't have a chance to respond to. So